we're back to talking about evidence-based practice. And I think it's important because like those Jesuit values of caring for the whole person and really caring for people are so important. And how do we make sure that we're like helping people with their suffering? And so my question is, like, how do you all do it? How do you all make sure that our students like are like lifelong learners, that they're in the research and continuing to like read the research and bring that into their work through their whole lives? How do you do it? Because if you found the secret, let me know, because a lot of my students are like, oh, I don't like that. You're like, and it's important. So if you have the secret pill, someone let me know.
Well, I'll start because I'm teaching this and teaching it tonight. My students just submitted an assignment in theories class about reviewing an evidence-based, randomized control trial and talking about what it means. And I had the very same reaction of the statistics. They don't like the statistics and what does it mean. But luckily enough, tonight I'm having a student come talk to me about what the article actually meant and what the statistics were behind it. So I think getting them to dive in early and have the mindset that, yes, I like this theory and this model, and this seems to be a fit for me, and I want to use it, or it might be the theory of the week, as we talked about. But what is the actual evidence behind it, and how do I intentionally use that, as well as the flip side of when are the times when my client or the person in front of me might not actually fit that model, or it might be contraindicated, and how do I have the flexibility to adapt?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think one of the things that I think of is now in this time that we live in, there's a whole lot of information available, and a lot of information available to our clients even. And so I think in terms of like being good consumers of research, I think it's part of our like mandate as counselors, and when we're counselor educators training these counselors to say, when your client comes in saying that they want this, this, and this because they saw, this article or saw this short on TikTok, probably is the most likely, like how can you have an informed and nuanced conversation about that, because clients do have access to all of this information, and we as counselors, and then you training these counselors, have the training and the skills needed to be able to critically assess those, whatever that is that's being brought up on mental health TikTok, which there's a lot of like benefits to that. And when you have the skills to be able to have done an assignment where you can critically analyze a randomized control trial, then I think you can apply that to critically analyzing whatever it is that the client brings in, saying that, we're going to do this today because I saw a 2-minute video on it. And so I think maybe even more today than in the past, being good consumers of research is so just vital to being able to serve our clients well.
I'm just thinking, I had a student, it was in practicum, they came in distraught because one of their clients was, and it was actually not in the clinic, it was like outside, right, in the work that they were doing. And they were really struggling, and they met the criteria for a certain diagnosis. The student was just not at a place in which that they could personally accept that diagnosis is language that names a phenomenon. They're really bought into one single kind of approach that the evidence just isn't there for that diagnosis. And I couldn't get them, out of it. And it was interesting, the more I kind of try to get them to look at some of those things, the more that they, pushed on it. And so my question is, when you have students like that I had, how do you all work with them?
That's a tough question, actually. I love Benjamin Disraeli. He was Prime Minister of England. He said there's 3 kinds of lies: lies, damn lies, and statistics. And what I love what Lexi was saying is just that if we were to think about what really the academy or universities are, is just learning to become good consumers of research. And this is probably a topic for another time, but I'm looking at what's happening in the modern world in terms of, AI and making sure that we don't get our research off TikTok. And that does concern me. But in terms of just working with students like that, I mean, you can, what's the old story? You can lead a horse to water. But in that situation, I try to teach students that there is a problem, but that problem manifests into symptoms. Symptoms, we never chase symptoms. And it sounds like she's chasing a symptom. So if a symptom is, let's say, I'm not sleeping well. Well, let's go ahead and get you a good sleeping pill. Then you'll sleep well. Then all your problems go away? No. So we don't chase symptoms. And I think that's probably might be one way I might approach it. And I may be successful, I may not, but yeah.
I'm interested. Dr. Lucas, let me come to you because I perceive you as someone with a good heart that really cares about people. I do. What do we do with those students that clearly the client is meeting a criteria for this? It's pretty clear that these are kind of some of the evidence-based things that we should be engaging in to help, but they refuse to accept that diagnosis is real, or that this approach that this is why they went into counseling, this is what saved their life, help them, how, because these are the things, that they're going to have to be, this is what they're doing now. They're counselor educators. These are the things they have to do now. I'm curious what advice you have for them?
Well, my quick answer is to do this in a gentle and compassionate way, the best that I could, but to help them realize that their approach now is making it more about their own need to fit into a certain box or see themselves as a particular type of counselor or way of being rather than to serve the client. And to take the time to do that, again, obviously in a way that's not going to be demeaning or aggressive or putting the student down, but helping them see there are alternative viewpoints here, and at the end of the day, what is in the best need of the client.
Yeah, I'm just getting from that I do see that often that's counselors coming in with an agenda. There's something about whatever the criteria or whatever there is, seems to me an agenda. I think I can find something here. I think there's, and again, that's that can be problematic, and it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, it feels like a both and in this situation too. And that's always a great place to go with in counselor education. But I feel like there's a both and of, in your scenario, yes, this was transformational for you, and this client is a unique, separate human individual, and you need to be able to be flexible and curious and open to different kinds of approaches to this person sitting in front of you, and not just what was helpful for you, and not spreading the gospel of your particular way of seeing things, that being open to different ways of seeing things as well.
I just learned, y'all. I just learned something. I just think, talking to you all, it's a reminder that it's similar to the process with clients, right? Probably within a couple minutes, we're okay, the person's gonna need to do this, this, and this. But we could tell them that, and that's not gonna help them. Right. What do we have to do? We have to get them to find who they are, tap into their own wisdom, and let them kind of uncover that on their time. And maybe that's the same for our students, right? And so if that's happening, how do I ask those bigger open-ended questions? How do I get them to to kind of connect to, some of those Jesuit values that folks come here for, and think about how do we go towards that? So anyway, I appreciate the dialogue and just what you all taught me, just listening. So thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you, John.